Super Smash Bros. What a series of games. Having the chance to play as your favourite Nintendo character and have them beat up other Nintendo characters is the stuff dreams are made of as a gamer. Seeing a fat plumber fight his brother, a yellow rodent from Pokemon Go, and is such a wacky and fun concept. But you know what? I've been thinking about it for some time now. Why do people hate Super Smash Bros. Brawl? And also, why do people love Super Smash Bros. Brawl? Yeah, this game is such an anomaly. It's probably the most divisive in the entire series. It's either the best or the worst. No in between for some people. But never mind what they think. What do I think? I love it.
I love it. I fucking love it!
In fact, I love it so much that if it was legal to share a bath with a video game, I'd gladly do it. Just kidding. That would never happen. I don't even own a bathtub. So sit back and relax, for I'm about to give a little history lesson on the Smash Bros. Series. Back in 1998, Dragon King the Fighting Game was a prototype fighting game created by Masahiro Sakurai and Satoru Iwata for the Nintendo 64 that featured unique characters. Sakurai then came up with the idea of replacing the characters with Nintendo icons like Mario, Link, Samus, Pikachu, and so on. This was done so that the game could actually stand a chance of selling well instead of suffering the same fate as my pet goldfish, down the toilet. The game then came out in 1999 under the name Super Smash Bros. Originally a Japanese only release, it eventually made its way worldwide after how successful it turned out to be, selling over 1 million units over there. It was unlike any fighting game that came out before. You can have up to 4 players square up against each other at once. You can fight on different stages based on many Nintendo franchises. Classic mode has you fight predetermined characters specific to your controlled fighter. People loved this game, but there was still a lot of room for improvement. 2 years later, the world was graced with a new game in the series, Super Smash Bros. Melee, the best one. At least that's what I hear other people say. I played it for the first time a couple of months ago, and I just can't agree with the statement that it's the best. It's still really good, don't get me wrong, but I don't think it's the greatest in the series. Melee was an even bigger success than the previous game, around 7 million copies sold, the highest selling game on the GameCube. New characters were added to the roster, 13 more than what we had before. These include Marth, Ness, Dr. Mario, Bowser, and many others. The game introduced 2 new single-player modes, Adventure Mode, where you play in pre-defined worlds based on pre-existing Nintendo franchises, and All-Star Mode, where you fight every character with only 1 life. Home Run Contest is a mode where you hit your sack. Wait, that didn't sound right. Where you hit your sandbag as quickly as possible so that you could hit it as far as possible. There are so many other things I want to talk about, like how all characters in the game, playable and non-playable, have their own trophy and how each trophy contains their own profile. But this video is already long enough, so let's talk about Brawl. It was 2005 and Nintendo announced their new console called the Revolution, eventually renamed the Wii. One of the games announced was a 3rd entry in the Smash Bros. Series.
1 or 2 Wi-Fi games will be ready for launch. And I am pushing our teams to make sure Smash Bros. Is one of them.
In 2006, a reveal trailer was shown, which introduced new characters to the series like Meta Knight, Pit, Zero Suit Samus, Wario, and the first ever non-Nintendo character, Solid Snake?
Snake.
What a surprise!
Snake is probably the most out-of-place character in Smash Bros. History. He's like a square peg, and Smash Bros. Is like a round hole, yet somehow it fits. As someone who recently finished playing most of the Metal Gear games, seeing how the series contains mature themes like government conspiracies and death should mean Snake has no right being in the same room as a big-headed child and a green dinosaur. I mean, it's just so funny, okay? Another third-party character added is Sonic the Hedgehog, and this is what people were expecting. He was supposed to be in Melee, but due to time constraints, he was cut from the final roster. In 2007, The Smash Bros. Brawl Dojo website was created with it being a platform to inform the general public by publishing one piece of news related to the game every day until its release. Now, I wasn't paying attention to the dojo back then. In fact, I didn't even know it was a thing, as I was too busy being an ignorant child. The game finally came out in 2008. I played it for the first time at a friend's house, and I was hooked. I eventually bought a copy of my own, and believe me when I say, I got so much mileage out of that game disc, along with the manual. It was nuts. Well, now that we have all that out of the way, let's dive deeper into this game. Now let me just boot it up here. Oh, that's blood. The main theme is the best in the series, no debate. Sung entirely in Latin, it gives off a sense of sheer epicness, and listening to this alongside the opening cinematic gives me warm feelings inside while watching. It makes me want to fight a giant yellow chicken. The intro itself contains cutscenes from the game's story mode, as well as gameplay, and it's just so cool, like it's so... oh god, so fucking great. I like Life Light from Ultimate, as well as the main themes for Smash for Wii U and Melee's, but for me personally, Brawl is just better. What about the gameplay? Well, after playing the first one, Melee, 3DS and Ultimate, I realised that Brawl feels slow. It's hard to describe, but the way the characters move in Brawl feels very lethargic compared to other games in the series. It's not bad or anything. It's still Smash Brothers at the end of the day. I just don't find it as satisfying. Melee's gameplay is too fast for my liking, and 3DS is only slightly better than Brawl's. For me, I find Ultimate to have the perfect gameplay speed. It was clear that Nintendo were targeting a more casual audience when it comes to controls in Brawl. They don't want little John Joe Jr. having a hissy fit because he couldn't comprehend how fast everyone in the game was. But because of that, the Smash community only got bigger than it ever was before, which could only be a good thing. Of course, you can play by yourself and fight the CPU, or you can play local multiplayer, just like in the previous games. They added new weapons and items to use against your opponent, but the biggest and most important items added were Final Smashes and Assist Trophies. Final Smashes are cool big finishers to knock your opponent off a stage to devastating effect. Except for Donkey Kong's, it's terrible. You can easily avoid it. Even if his Final Smash hits you, it doesn't do much damage. Assist trophies are exactly what the name implies. They contain characters from multiple Nintendo franchises that assist you in battle. Man, look at these denim jeans. You know what these remind me of? Mario in Brawl. Because he wears denim overalls in the game. Why does this game look realistic? And I don't mean real life realistic.
It's a Mario.
Well, apparently it's because of how similar the specs are between the Wii and the GameCube. Nintendo felt the only way they could make the game look better visually is by making it look realistic. If they were going for a more colourful approach to Brawl, they would only look similar to Melee. I'm very mixed on that. On one hand, this makes Brawl one of the most visually distinct in the series, but on the other hand, this makes Brawl look a bit dull. I mean, come on. I can count out the individual feathers on Falco's wings. Is that something I need to see? Now what if you don't want to play by yourself or with friends? Simple. You play with random strangers on the internet. Online. I barely played this mode. Might have tried this a few times before the server shut down in 2014. Can't remember, to be honest. When I first got this game, it was around the time I didn't know I could connect my Wii to the internet. Don't blame me, I was stupid. But playing online in this game, from what I heard, was a bit awkward. It was so laggy to the point where it can be borderline unplayable. If you could somehow travel back in time from 2008 to 2014, then I'd recommend skipping this mode. Let's go back to the offline modes. Event Match has you fight in certain scenarios and meet specific objectives. Training helps you hone your skills against the computer. All-Star mode, classic mode, break the targets, home run contest are all back and are basically the same as before. Multi-man Brawl involves you needing to defeat as many enemies as possible with one life. Boss Battle has you fight every boss you've faced in the story mode on one life. Overall, the single player content here is really good. That's great and all, but does versus mode return? Yes? Good. There are timed battles where whoever has the most KOs wins, and stock battles where the last person standing wins. There's tourney, you can have up to 32 competitors in single elimination brackets, so if you want to recreate the World Cup but with Nintendo characters, then be my guest. There's special Brawl. I mean, look at this, what's going on? Story mode is back, and it's called the Subspace Emissary, but instead of it being a short 30-minute affair like the last game, it's a massive 8-hour long marathon, and believe me when I say, I love it. Yeah, if you want to be really critical about it, then it's a bit bloated, and it makes you question some characters' motivations at points, but I don't care about any of that as a fanboy. The whole appeal of this mode is to see characters from different universes team up and save the world. I mean, here's an example. Meta Knight and Marth are trying to catch the bad guy, but they just miss him. Then out of nowhere, Ike shows up and almost cuts the guy in half. Ike's team plays, and it's just so cool. I mean, it's weird how he just conveniently shows up out of nowhere and was never mentioned before until now. But who cares, it's awesome and he's badass. That's why Ike is my favourite character in the game to play as, even though I've never played a Fire Emblem game before in my life. I just like how big his sword is and his design is pretty cool. Throughout the game you choose who to control depending on who's there in that particular moment and fight various enemies. Some of the enemy designs are interesting. I don't know if it's because I played this mode a million times, but the way they look is really memorable and very unique. I mean, look at this flying octopus knight. He sounds like Santa if he was possessed by a demon and spotted a plate full of cookies. There are these hard-shelled things with green legs, green things with big lips, dark green rectangles resembling humanoid figures, green people that blow. What's this mode's weird obsession with green beings? You also see this weird fella called the Ancient Minister, who's also green, and he drops bombs in different places. When they explode, the general area gets sucked into a purple void called the subspace. Who's in charge of all this? Well, the Ancient Minister and Bowser work for Ganondorf, who works for Master Hand. I find it funny seeing Ganondorf inside a techie futuristic lab, considering he comes from a series that famously doesn't have any of that stuff. I'm not going to spoil any more of this mode, but suffice to say, it's flawed, but it's still entertaining. But what if I don't want to play the game? You know, sometimes I just want to look in something, like inside a vault or something. That's right, if you get bored of the fighting, then why not feast your eyes on things such as trophies. They return, and it's the same as Melee. You see a trophy and they have a description on it. There's a sticker collection. Each one has stat boosts, which you can give to your fighter in the story mode. Back then, I didn't even know you could do that. I always assumed they were just stickers for display. There's replays and photos. You can tell how much of a child I was back in the day. You can take snapshots whenever you pause the game. It's a shame you can't upload anything to the Wii's photo channel like you can in Mario Galaxy or Mario Kart Wii. In fact, this game doesn't take advantage of the fact it's on the Wii, aside from the fact when you can hear the character speak in the fighter selection menu from the Wii remote speaker. You can't use your Miis as fighters. That wouldn't become a thing until Smash for Wii U and 3DS came out. There's no mandatory motion controls, which I am fine with, but it would have been nice to have as an option at the very least. This game came out 2 years into the Wii's life cycle, back when nearly every game tried to make the most of the fact it's on the Wii. A game like The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess was never intended to come out on the Wii, but it just so happened to be ready in time for the Wii's launch in 2006. Because of that, they had to include motion controls to justify its existence on the Wii, and not just being a port of the original GameCube version. What I'm trying to say is that Brawl might as well have come out on the GameCube, because it wouldn't have made any difference control-wise. The coin launcher experience is the same as going to a casino, because I lose everything because of rigged bull. You shoot coins at trophies in order to add them to your collection, but these weird metal yokes block everything and it makes me want to die. Stage Builder is cool if not limited. You're given many pieces of terrain and obstacles to add across your stage, but they all look generic and uninteresting. The sad truth is that future games in the series have even worse stage builders. How is that even possible? I remember sinking so much time into this and making so many stages. I must have been really bored back then. Challenges rewards you with unlockable goodies after completing certain objectives. Beating some of these objectives can award you with a gold hammer, which you can then use to unlock rewards that you might deem to be impossible to get otherwise. The soundtrack in this game is superb. The songs used in the actual games in which the characters are from are really catchy and memorable. The original songs made for this game are also brilliantly made. Shout out to these guys. They cook something so good, it's as if Gordon Ramsay held their families hostage and forced them to cook in order to save them.
You're cooking in a burnt pan, you fucking dick!
It's just so great to see. Masterpieces contain multiple different games from different series, from the NES, Super NES, and Nintendo 64. This mode contains the entire ROMs for each game, meaning it is possible to beat them, in theory. You see, for as cool as it is that you can play these classics, the only catch is that there is a time limit for each one, so good luck trying to beat Ocarina of Time in 5 minutes. Obviously Nintendo did this on purpose, as they want you to buy these games through the now defunct Virtual Console from the Wii Shop channel. Regardless, it's still cool that you can play these for free, even if you can't try them out for long. Chronicle shows you a list of all Nintendo published games until March 14, 2008. A nice piece of history, as I can now be reminded every time I look here that Lilac Wars was the name given to the Star Fox series in Europe. I don't even care about Star Fox, and I'm still mad about it to this day. You can also look at trailers, tutorials on how to play the game, and cutscenes from the story mode. You tend not to see little things like that anymore, since YouTube and social media exists. Places where you can watch all of that stuff on those platforms. So that's pretty much all I have to say about this game. I know Melee is the most popular in the series, and I can understand why. It's a pretty good game, but for me personally, I am more fond of Brawl. I'm so nostalgic for this game, and it was the game that got me into fighting games, and because of that, it's one of my favourite games of all time. Super Smash Bros. Brawl is a great game, and no one can tell me otherwise. Oh, looks like there's an angry mob outside. What is it?
You said Melee is bad.
No, I said it was good.
Well, it's not your favorite and that's enough to insult us, so now we're gonna kill you.
Well, looks like I'm going to die. At least the weather's nice.